we're going to learn about the history of Bernheim Forest. Here we see a spring house. This spring house was originally built in 1910 and it was relocated here in 1971. A spring house is a place where people used to be able to collect water. So they would go in here and they would use buckets to get water that had bubbled up from the ground in what we call a spring. They built this whenever people used to mine for iron on this land. Before Bernheim was the forest that you see today, they used the land that Bernheim now sits on to mine for iron. Whenever they mined for iron, the land looked totally different than the way it does today because they had to dig up a lot of it. So a lot of the trees that we see weren't here until they began rebuilding and restoring Bernheim Forest in 1929. So in 1929, Isaac Bernheim, the founder, bought Bernheim Forest as 16,000 acres of land. Then from 1929 to 1950, they began a restoration project where they worked to plant all of the different plants that you see now to build habitats for different animals. They wanted to create a place where people could come to learn about plants and animals and connect with nature. Today, Bernheim Forest hosts over 8,000 different kinds of plants. This includes trees, shrubs, and even little bitty plants such as grass and small flowers. Bernheim Forest opened up to the public in 1950. Whenever Bernheim Forest opened up, it also opened a 600-acre arboretum. Can you say that word? Arboretum? Arboretum? An arboretum is a special place where scientists and researchers grow plants and cultivate their seeds. They then take these seeds that they've cultivated and they replant them in the natural environment so they can spread that species of plant. This creates habitats for many different animals and it helps support the other plants around it. Today, Bernheim Forest has 3 different major habitats where plants and animals call it home. This includes the woodlands, the wetlands, and the grasslands. Today, Bernheim Forest produces over 102 billion pounds of oxygen per year. That means that Bernheim Forest produces a lot of the air that we breathe. This is through a process that plants do called photosynthesis, where they take carbon dioxide, which is air that we breathe out, and they turn it into oxygen, which is air that we can breathe in. Bernheim Forest also helps the environment in other ways. For example, in 2015, Bernheim Forest began tracking eagles. They began tracking their migratory patterns. So they looked at when eagles would leave the forest, where they would go, and at what time they would come back. Bernheim Forest has helped the environment in many other ways, and it continues to find new ways to learn and to help the environment today. The impact of the actions of Isaac Bernheim in creating Bernheim Forest have a huge impact on the world that we live in today.